All right, so good night, everyone. Tonight I want to talk about something that honestly is a little bit controversial. So I had to make sure that I have my notes in front of me. I took some notes just to make sure that I'm stating facts. I know typically when you're talking about a controversial topic, you don't really want to assume too many things. You don't really want to bring too many pieces of information that is hearsay and gossip. So I'm really trying to stick to the facts. I don't have a final opinion on it one way or the other, but I think it's time we probably ask a couple of questions. So if you saw the thumbnail, is really just to kind of understand where we are as a footballing nation, and are we able to make it to the World Cup with the current regime that we have? So let me start by highlighting who the coaching staff is, for some who don't know, right? So I would start there. We have Dwight York, he's the head coach. He was a striker and a winger, and he started managing since 2022. It's information just to remember, right? We have Russell Latapy, who's a midfielder, started managing in 2007, managing at some level, some capacity. We have Derek King, who was a defender and started managing again in some capacity since 2008. Dwight York brought in Neil Wood, who is in charge of player development, and he also brought in Anthony Crea, who's in charge of strength and conditioning coach. That's who he is. So Dwight York started his tenure November 1st, 2024, and his coaching staff was brought in not too long after that. Since then, we have had 10 games, 10 official games, and our track record is 3 wins, 2 draws, 5 losses. If this was a group and there were 10 games at 30 points we could have had, we currently would have had 11 points, which is pretty bottom of the table for me. The 3 games that we actually won were against 2 teams. St. Kitts and Nevis, who is ranked at number 145 in the world, and Cuba, who is ranked at 167th in the world. We played Cuba twice, as most people would know. The 2 games that we drew were against Haiti, who is ranked 83rd in the world, but we know Haiti of recently has been very inconsistent, and they were a team that actually got 5 from Curacao, who's a team that we have to play soon. And Saudi Arabia, who's ranked at 58th. But let's be honest, 9 of their starting players were not there, and obviously because they involved in the FIFA Cup, World Cup that is going on right now. So we got a B team, possibly a C team for Saudi Arabia. So talking about the pluses, the team's attacking line looks very solid, and I must admit that we are more positive and intentional in our forward play. But as we have seen, that doesn't guarantee us to win any matches. We have not beaten a team that is better than us in the FIFA rankings, nor have we improved in the FIFA rankings since Dwight York and his coaching staff took office. When they came into office, we were ranked at number 100, and the last FIFA ranking, which was on the 3rd of April 2025, we are still ranked at 100. The next FIFA ranking is the 10th of July, so I know we had a lot of games after that, so maybe we may move up, down, stay in the same place, but we'll see how the FIFA rankings go from there. In terms of scouting, We have seen some local players being added to the team. We have seen Dante Sealy as our only foreign-based addition so far. There's a lot of talk and a lot of promise of additions. I mean, we've been hearing that a couple months now. We actually heard that even before the Unity Cup. But when are these players actually coming, and who are these players that they're currently looking at? Again, a lot of silence. So I've grown up learning that promises are comfort are fool. So I don't just want to take promises. I want to actually see what they're bringing, right? Point to note, we are coming off of an almost month-long campaign with the team, and we played in 3 tournaments. No other coach has, or possibly no other coach will have the amount of time that they had to influence the national team into their playing style, into their culture, into their strategies, into their formations. So let's be a little bit critical, because again, they had the most amount of time, so we should really be a bit critical of them. The Unity Cup. We had a solid game against Jamaica, which was about to go down to penalties, and I mean, obviously with penalties is 50-50, anything could happen there. But as we all know, we had a lapse in the defense, and that costed us that game. So we lost that game 3-2. Then we went ahead to play Ghana. The only thing I could really say there is that we got a chance to play Ghana. There was absolutely nothing to speak about positive in that game, if we be honest. Then we went on to the World Cup qualifiers. We did enough to get to the next stage. We beat St. Kitts Nevis. I mean, they still scored 2 goals on us, but we beat St. Kitts Nevis. And then we had a slim loss to Costa Rica, which was enough to get us through. Remember, there was also the point that there could have been goal difference and we could have been out, but I know that was because of incidents or games outside of Dwight York and his coaching staff, so wouldn't really discuss that too much. Then we got through at World Cup qualifiers, and we on to the next stage, of which starts in September. Then we go to the Gold Cup. We got into the Gold Cup by beating Cuba, those 2 games. Let's remember that our interim coach had us get positive results against Cuba also. I think it was Derek King, the interim coach, or it was even Angus Eve, somebody. But we had positive results against Cuba before, so in terms of our measuring stick, we did it before, so we were expected to do it again. Gold Cup. We got humiliated by USA. And admittedly, that is not USA's strongest team. We were the laughing stock of CONCACAF. The entire region, I saw on social media where people like Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan was talking about this is the worst Trinidad and Tobago they've ever seen. So yeah, we had a few days of tongue lashing from everybody else. Then, as I mentioned, we had draw games against Saudi Arabia and Haiti. I kind of mentioned that they where they stand in terms of not having all their players, and Haiti is very inconsistent at this point. We came out 3rd in our group, and we did not qualify. We did not advance to the next stage because we had 2 points out of possible 9. I want to take a quote from Wired868. This is the first time I'm ever doing this, so thanks Wired868. The reality is that the Soca Warriors have minimal success in regaining possession high up the field or frustrating the progress of the opponents. That is starting your attacking your midfield before you get to your defense. There are problems with his defensive quartet or his trio, which means sometimes we play the formation 4 in the back, sometimes we play 3 in the back, sometimes we play 5 in the back. We've seen it, which is a selection concern, obviously. Our greatest areas of concern that have glaring issues, talking about the defense and the midfield, have various other players who could have been called but were not for whatever reason. But there's a lot of talk that certain people picking players, coaches favoring certain players. We hear the talk, right? Team selection is highly questionable. A lot of question goes, and this kind of ties into the point just now. Team selection is highly questionable. A lot of questions were about the players being left out more than actually the players who were playing. Questions like, why are we still so heavily reliant on a 35-year-old midfielder? Obviously, well, center attacking midfielder. Obviously, I'm talking about Kevin Molino. When we know is that we have players who play that role in their clubs and doing pretty okay. Molikan, Judah Garcia, Dante Gilbert. That's just to name a few. Why are we so heavily dependent on a 40-year-old keeper? Now, Marvin did okay, but is it that we don't have any succession planning? Is it that we don't want to play Denzel Smith? We don't want to call Greg Ranjit Singh? We don't want to call Aaron NL, who's been doing fantastic in JPL? And that leads to the next question. Why was Denzel Smith not given time in the Gold Cup? What does it benefit a player like Marvin Phillip to get all that game time in the Gold Cup? Would it not have benefited a younger player who's looking for a contract, a bigger contract, because he already has a contract with AV Alta, looking for a bigger contract, getting a regional stage to express himself? And we know he's done it before. So a lot of question around that also. What is our actual formation going forward? Honestly, it seems like we're still trying too many things. As I say, sometimes 3 in the back, sometimes 4 in the back, sometimes 5 in the back. Respecting teams too much. We definitely did that in, at least in the Gold Cup, in against USA and Haiti. We played a little bit different against Saudi Arabia, but we should really have been using that time to finalize what we want to do, fine-tune some things, but we haven't done that as yet. So I want to go back to where I started, talking about the coaching staff. Let's rate what we've seen so far. Dwight, he's a striker, he's a winger. Strangely enough, we're seeing success in those areas, and I put here limited success. We see Dante Sealy, we see Tyree Spicer, even Real Gill. We see people on the wings and they're doing their jobs. Levi Garcia on top is a threat, always a threat. Poison looks real good on top. But when he is not there, we clearly seem to be lacking something. We try with Nathaniel James. We try with Isaiah Lee. We have Bongo on the bench. We're not sure when we want to play him. How he plays with the team at a big stage, we're not sure. We see people like Kaim Thomas, as I mentioned. There are some local players who gain a chance to shine. So there's some limited success there. We haven't finalized a full formula in front, but when we have at least those 3 players, it looks really good. Russell Latopi is a midfielder, one of our most creative, if not arguably our most creative midfielder that we've ever had. Let's look at our midfield right now. I still think Daniel Phillips does plenty work. I know there are some games that he really doesn't look good, and it's probably because he's been a bit overworked. We have some players who are a bit older who seem to be struggling on the ball. We have some players who aren't able to play the physical midfield. They are more, if they have the room and a more finesse, they get that time. So our midfield is currently struggling because Kevin Molino cannot give us 90 minutes. And we clearly see that there's a gap when he's not there with the current players we have, because we're not choosing certain players. Derek King is a defender, has been in management role since 2008. And our defense is utter garbage. And I don't even know how to say it otherwise, how to sugarcoat it, how to sound nice. Our defense is trash. So, is Russell Atupi doing his work? Is Derek King doing his work? I didn't really see who's the goalkeeping coach, but even that person I will be questioning a little bit also. Neil Wood, player development. Which player have we developed into the national team so far? We could go on a stretch and say Rio Cardines, but he was already a youth player and he's playing in an academy where he is developing. And so he's brought onto the senior team to learn the senior team. And we know that he is learning, developing. I think he's honestly handling himself. But is that what we call player development? Because I struggle to find player development otherwise. Anthony Crea, strength and conditioning coach. Our entire team looks tired after 30 minutes. If you get 40 minutes, you get plenty. We have gaping holes, we have older players, we have players who can't keep up with the ball. So what strength and conditioning coach has been doing? Question. I put here Sean Fuentes. He is our media person on the team. Very inconsistent and very limited with the information we have. One of the most serious incidents we had recently, unfortunately, is Johnny Fortune. We continue to hope and pray for the best for him. I don't know if it was that they wanted the club to say it first. I really don't know. But, I mean, immediately after the game, we had a press conference. We had several days and nothing. A simple statement that something happened. We don't know the full extent, but I don't know. Just would have liked to know something from the actual media person who is working there. All these people getting salaries from the TTFA. So we would expect better, but again, who are we, right? So my final thoughts. If this was 2024, today that I'm doing this is actually June 25th. So if this was June 25th, 2024, and we were seeing what we are seeing now, the very limited progress, I would say, cool, no problem. We're growing and we have time. So let me round up that statement by saying I do acknowledge that there is progress. We are playing more positive. When we get the ball in the front line, we're looking very dangerous. But really and truly, this is the last stage before World Cup. The countdown is already on. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 350 something days now. So forgive me if I'm a little bit nervous and wanting to know if this is the best that we have or if we're planning to look for somebody else. I heard a talk that because of Jamaica's poor showing in their recent games also, that there may be a change up in their management. I don't know if we as Trinidad and Tobago, because we mirror everything Jamaica does, so I don't know if there's something we'd even think about. But again, like, share and subscribe, and as always, tell me your thoughts in the comments, and let's use this space to really start talking about it, because I've been hearing talks on both sides, 50-50. Dwight is a legend. And if is anybody who could get our best foreign-based players, it would be him. So that he's there for scouting. But let's be mindful that even though we have the best players on a team, doesn't mean your team would win. Case in point, look at Jamaica. Jamaica has arguably the best group of players, best pedigree, working in the best leagues and best showings. Yet again, beat up by teams that actually playing cohesive football. So tell me your thoughts, let me know, and let's talk about it. But we really at a point that we need to be critical and ask ourselves some serious questions.